Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of How Did This Get Booked? I, of course, am your host, Jake Manning, and I am a veteran of the professional wrestling business for over a decade, and I've held every single job except selling popcorn. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host and tag team partner and bike gang member, Zane Riley. Zane, how are you doing today?
Fantastic, Jake. How are you?
Good, very good. You were drinking water today?
I don't know what's going on.
I'm utterly confused. Would you like me to steam some vegetables for you as well?
No, I had my noon meal. I have to wait till 4 for my next round.
Oh, okay. So you're on that. But are you doing the intermittent fasting? Is the question.
Actually, 100% yes, I am. Swear to God.
Listen, a fisherman can see a fisherman from afar. My friend.
I was aiming for the 2 to 10, but it's real hard. So
You'll get there.
I'm a noon to 8 guy right now. I'm trying to go for the 2 to 10 so I can help my drinking out. But
You'll get there. I promise.
baby steps.
Baby steps.
Baby fasting.
But anyways, we are joined as always by a non-wrestling fan. We are joined by a comedian, a guy who did a wonderful job at my all-organic comedy show last night at the Evening Muse. He came all the way down from New York. Freddy G. Freddy, how you doing today?
I'm so happy to be here.
Okay, yeah. Well, yeah, obviously, it's I've got the room nice and hot for you.
Yeah, it's hot as shit in here.
I shut off the air so I could open up the doors to ensure that we just sweat it out in
so
here.
So we could just close another door so it doesn't even do us any good.
I want no ventilation during this whole podcast.
The idea is to make you go fast so we can get it done in less than an hour so we don't have to pay as much to put this out.
And listen, I'm sure if you could get an Asana, Zane, I know you would. Freddie, I don't know if I know
sure.
you've had a weight loss as well in your life. So.
Yeah, I'm on a low carb thing. I don't fast, but at least reading about it makes me eat less often. So I like to at least hear about it.
You hear about other people's shitty decisions.
Yeah,
exactly.
I ate so much just now. So.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you need to sweat it all off.
Oh please.
Okay.
This is all bacon sweats.
Yeah. Nobody's having the broccoli sweats right now. But Freddie, it was funny when I sent you this file and then we were discussing it and then you sent it back like, hey, this is the first wrestling show I've ever seen before. First of all, sorry for that. But my big question to you is what was your exposure to professional wrestling? What do you know about it before you watched the show? Did you know some of the people? Were you aware it even existed? I
definitely knew about wrestling. I mean, there's stuff that breaks through, like The Rock, Stone Cold, Austin 316.
Okay.
And then I played the game WCW NW Revenge, so I know all the wrestlers in that.
Okay.
And then there's one guy, Vader, who was in an episode of Boy Meets World. I don't know if I knew he was a real wrestler until I saw him. I'm like, oh, I guess he actually is a wrestler.
That's awesome.
Okay, so this whole show validated Vader's existence for you.
Yes.
Well, at least this show did something.
Which when we get there, funny story about him saying that. So.
Okay, all right. I like all of that. But since we've just kind of discussed it right there, let's just jump right into the show that we are discussing today. And the show that we are discussing is the makeshift promotion is the best way to put it. Pro Wrestling Superstars. The show took place in Miami Beach, Florida at the Duval Resort Hotel on Miami Beach. In Miami Beach,
It was like
Florida.
the least Miami thing to ever happen in Miami.
Yeah.
I figured they were in the middle of some kind of backcountry place. It's like, oh no, this is Miami.
No, this is right on Miami Beach.
This is a really nice ballroom.
Yes. It's a 2 p.m. show. It took place March 31st of 2012 during WrestleMania weekend, which me and Zane were both in attendance that weekend.
Yes.
And obviously I was in attendance because I'm on the show.
Because we'll talk about you soon.
We'll talk about you soon enough. But what I didn't know at the time that we were doing Wrestle Reunion, which was a large convention, which was kind of like a Comic-Con level event, and this was a show inside of a show, and this show was put together as a time filler. Like there was no rhyme or reason why it needed to happen. It just did happen, and I remember it being very last minute. Like I don't even remember.
You don't say.
I vividly remember going, oh, we're filming this show? I thought this was just going to happen. And they're just like, yeah, sure, why don't we just film it?
That was my first question. There's announcers who were just terrible. That was my favorite part was hearing how bad the announcers were. Who are they announcing to? Because the people in the arena can't hear them. Is there any kind of TV audience that's watching this?
They could hear the announcer saying the names. They couldn't hear the guy
Yeah, the commentator.
So he would have been. That would have just been for live release.
Yeah, that would just be for this. Yeah, and that's my.
And basically, at that time, he was just talking to himself since no one was there for a very long time.
And that's another thing too. Is Marty DeRosa, who I've worked with with $5 Wrestling, a very funny comic out of Chicago. He's not a play-by-play guy. He's a color guy. So the thought process was, we'll grab Bill after because he'll do anything. You just give him a microphone and he'll go.
Except for show up.
Apparently, he never got the memo, but like Marty has to cover, so he has to do the job of color guy, play-by-play guy, which I got stuck with last Saturday, and it is not an easy task to do.
I wish he would have just came up with two different voices and just discussed it with himself.
Yeah,
as both characters, play-by-play and color.
But I remember vividly telling Marty, like, hey, Bill Actor's going to come over and save you. Just start it and do what you can. Because I was on the show and I was more thinking of that. And eventually, seeing how it all turned out, that Bill never showed up.
Never.
Luckily.
Gary Lee or whatever.
Luckily, Marty's friend Gary Lee was walking by. And Gary Lee, if you were a $5 Wrestling fan, remember him from the first pay-per-view. He was the guy that dressed up like Macho Man Randy Savage and actually wrestled on the show. He had no wrestling training. But I remember Colt Cabana looking at me and going, he's not as bad as all the other guys. so he actually he made his wrestling debut on internet pay-per-view dressed as Macho Man.
Oh wait, people pay-per-viewed for it?
This one, no.
Oh, okay.
This one, I'm surprised that we even saw the light of day. We recorded it, and it just we released it, and that's kind of just what happened. So it's like, I think this was kind of a thing of like, because those wrestler reunions, the budget was a little odd, so we were always trying to looking for ways to get it back to the black or get it back to zero. So we're like, let's just release this and see if we can make anything off this, or it's just at least content, because the company I work for, highspots.com, it's all about content. The more content we have available, the better, but maybe we could have skipped over this content.
Right. So how much does wrestling usually cost? Because they talk about $5 wrestling.
Well, $5 Wrestling was a funny, goofy little thing, which we'll probably discuss here in a little bit, because there was a particular match that had some undertones to that. But $5 Wrestling was basically a joke in the sense that, you go to a WWE show, you want front row tickets, it's going to cost probably $100. If you want to go to WrestleMania, it could cost you thousands or several $100. And if you see a live event, it's going to cost you about $50 to sit in front row, where $5 Wrestling thing is, it's $5 to come see wrestling, but you get what you pay for. Was kind of the thing with that. But like an event like this with name guys, usually in a convention setting, it's like a situation of, we're trying to get our money's worth out of these guys. They're going to do a 2-hour autograph signing at the convention part, but then we've paid them so much money that we have to get some other type of appearance out of them, and their skill set is very limited. Some of these guys can't hold like a 2-hour Q&A or an hour-long Q&A or be a part of a roundtable discussion. So, but they can wrestle. That's their skill set.
Well, that's arguable.
Well, at this point in the juncture, like
they were really out of shape. A lot of gut. If people are into guts flopping, if that's like your fetish, this would be your video.
This is your fetish.
If that's your topic on Pornhub, then you're definitely have succeeded in this.
Now, is this elsewhere on the internet? Because I saw it on your YouTube channel, and it only had 12 views, and I think like 5 of those were me.
That was a private link, just because I want people to go to the High Spots Wrestling Network, which is where this show is available. If you log onto that, I will. And also, I'm going to put this in the How Did This Get Booked category on the High Spots Wrestling Network. So hopefully people that are High Spots Wrestling Network viewers, you viewed this show before we discuss it. So,
and you will notice that there's only 18 views there.
That's about right. So this unlisted link on my YouTube page isn't advertised everywhere else. Probably has more hits than the actual High Spots Wrestling Network. But that's all the more reason why we're discussing this show.
Right.
So
makes it very.
But I must give. I'll save this piece of information later. It'll make it a little bit better. We'll jump right into match number 1.
And now let's jump right the fuck back out.
New Age Outlaws versus the Varsity Club. Freddy, you may mention like some of these guys were a little bit more out of shape and stuff like that, but like you have no context. Like you said, this is your first wrestling show you ever saw, correct?
Yes, it was. Oh yeah, New Age Outlaws. I guess they're guys who rob spas. Okay, that's a joke. Just throwing jokes in.
Okay. But
Jake Manning, not your target audience, it seems.
I got it now. It took a second. Like I was like, I thought you said robbed the spas. I'm like, are you doing the Kid Rock song, Bother with a Bob, but really badly?
Yeah, no,
like,
that song should have been playing during this match.
well, any
please.
song
Yeah.
would have
The
helped.
music just didn't work, right? That wasn't worked or whatever. The music just wasn't working. At
No,
first.
it just wasn't working. But goddamn, did Road Dogg make it part of the match?
Which is so upsetting because if you ever see DX or the Road Dogg, you go there for like the opener is the point.
Yes.
Like the whole point of him even wrestling there was so he could say his little line.
Yeah, you don't book him to wrestle. You book him to come out to that song.
Yeah.
like
and then say his suck it and then go the fuck away.
yeah, and I just love how the silence happens and they go out there. And part of the reason why they rush through that is so much, and we'll probably discuss that for the next several matches, is the Hall of Fame is that night, so people have to get out of there because there's a call time for the WWE Hall of Fame. Like you have to be over at that building, I believe at like 3 or 4 o'clock. This show starts at 2.
Mm-hmm.
So the first half of this card, there's a reason
We
why
gotta
it's so
go.
stacked. We gotta go.
Yeah.
So he's not gonna wait for them to get the music right. He's gotta hurry up, do this match, come to the back, and then take off in a car. So that's why he's like, screw it, let's just go. And that's kind of how most of the first 3 matches go. Is
So
screw
they
it.
put the bigger people up first. Yeah, that last match was just like everyone who was left.
Yeah.
The
The remainder.
Pretty much. But yeah, like, and I just love when Billy Gunn and Road Dogg came out, and like before Billy gets to the ring and it's silent, he's just like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like,
This is like with very shades of Zane and Jake.
yeah, like,
Why are we doing this?
why are we doing this? But
I'll
anyway,
just sing my own entrance song. No, no, no.
And that
you
was
didn't know? Yeah.
and that's the thing that's like, Road Dogg always, he did that the same thing over and over and over again when he would come out to the ring in WWE, and that was what he was known for. But like as far as an ad-libber, people always said he was the best, and people said that him doing that scripted thing every single week, you didn't get to see how good he was at ad-libbing. But this is a prime example. When the bottom falls out, Road Dogg is at his best.
Still good.
Finally, people, Road Dogg fans are gonna have to flock to this video.
Yeah, this is he's gonna start trending.
Just
soon.
change it to Road Dogg off script.
Yeah,
Yes, but yeah.
Road Dogg Raw.
And I love, and it's even better when they finally play the Varsity Club.
Yeah, oh,
like that's just like a real heel, and it's great. But
I called the Outlaws the tag team of shirts and skins.
yep,
pretty much, it's me and Cale Connolly.
yep. There it is.
But so you were kind of aware of pro wrestling a little bit, but are you aware of the crotch chopping? Like, did you see that?
I think back in the night, yeah, I know they yelled "suck it." At first, I didn't get it, but yeah, they yelled "suck it."
So that brought back memories to junior high
First,
school.
they were yelling "fuck you," yeah, but.
But
So the Outlaws were the good guys, is that right?
Yeah, I guess so. Since they took heat, I suppose they got beat up the whole time. Yeah, I guess they would be.
Yeah, there is a lot
considered.
of good people getting beat up.
Yeah.
There's a certain Jesus. There's one guy later who was just basically Jesus the entire movie.
this show is very much analogous for America.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
all allegory, all the time.
absolutely. But yeah, this was like obviously these guys are a little bit older.
A little bit.
Yeah, well, Rick Steiner and Kevin Sullivan. Freddie, this is very fascinating to me, being a person that, not a fan of wrestling. Like, I know who Kevin Sullivan is, and I know who Rick Steiner is, and I'm excited to see them still being in the ring. But you, as just a layman who sees older guys in the ring, what are your thoughts when you see
It was good
them?
because I know we're here to make fun of it. So I'm like, okay, that's good. They're old.
Good,
Yeah,
I've got fodder.
Yeah, I wrote like hair follicles were the real loser of this match.
Does pro wrestling seem more fake when that happens?
At first, it just seemed like, oh, this is kind of like dancing
Okay.
at the beginning. Then later, I guess I got into it.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah, like the moves where you throw the guy off the belt, like that wouldn't happen in a fight where you weren't choreographing it.
Exactly. And I think Joey Ryan said it best on Twitter. He said the fakest thing that I do is I whip some guy off the ropes. And I vehemently agree with that.
But yeah, I've still never seen in shape people wrestle. Well, I guess besides you were pretty shape.
I'm the most in shape person. Oh, that makes me feel so
fine.
good
There's
and
one-
sad
oh,
for
there's
pro
a-
wrestling.
Welcome to being the body guy, Jake.
There's the Wolfman later who like
Fuck
the announcers.
him.
He was like in really good shape. Like he's jumping up and down. Like he's actually like an in shape athlete.
Athlete is a debatable term.
Yeah. Fucking.
But what else when you see the Varsity Club? Anything that pops into your mind?
I wrote, someone get this guy longer shorts.
Okay.
Because we really didn't need to see that much lag.
Kelvin Sullivan's dong hanging in the
Listen,
the singlet.
Kevin Sullivan's thighs used to be a big inspiration for me. Like, that's when I was like, I need to do a lot of squats so I can get thighs as big as Kevin Sullivan when I watch him on WCW Saturday night.
Yeah.
So he was he was a thigh inspiration for me.
You were a thigh guy.
I was shooting for that. And luckily I have the genetics for it. But Zane, what are your thoughts on this match?
I appreciate the fact that Rick Steiner had access to porn star track pants. You don't know if you remember the old clothing brand called Porn Star.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what the rip-away track pants were that he was wearing the whole time.
Okay.
Really appreciated that. Any corn kids from back in, high school era of me, which would have been 2000-ish time.
Okay.
You'll remember that.
Oh, okay. I get where we're going now.
I love when they ran it. Anytime two people ran into each other, they both fall down. That's my favorite part. The part when both guys seem like they get concussions. And I think they needed a rule. If you have a concussion, it's an automatic tag, so the match keeps going.
Yeah. And I love how quiet the crowd was because they didn't know what is going on a little bit.
Because there's only 15 of them there.
There was the ring announcer Mark Nolte, who God rest his soul.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Man.
God rest his soul.
Oh, I was gonna call him Bruce Buffer's accountant, but yeah, no.
But no, go right ahead. He actually. A lot of people didn't like him, and a lot of message boards trashed him on a regular while he was alive. So,
his voice was great. His look just said accountant.
Yeah, and also
I'm sure
too,
he was. This wasn't his full-time job.
As a ring announcer, you're kind of supposed to be like, "Hey guys, are you ready to see some wrestling?" Like, kind of be like an MC in comedy and be a cheerleader and get everybody excited about wrestling. Where he's just like, "I'm a straightforward announcer," and so obviously that was the tone that was set. And then there was a music error, so everybody's super quiet. But them being super quiet gave us a wonderful gem that when Road Dogg collided heads with Kevin Sullivan, you heard somebody yell out, "Stay down, we're going into commercial."
Yeah.
That's better than any
That's the
joke.
highlight of the match.
That's better than any joke we might do on this podcast
The
today.
idea that someone would pay to commercially sponsor the match.
Yeah, even a better joke.
But yeah, they're just kind of going through the motions to do
The quickest of motions.
the quickest because Road Dogg's got to get out, and also J.J. Dillon is managing, and he's going to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame that night, so he's got to get out of there. So
yeah, it ends really quick. I figured it was gonna be a fake out.
Nope,
which was crazy. And then,
Took it home quick in the first match.
and I love how Road Dogg
comeback, let's go.
And Road Dogg just acknowledges, like, hey, we don't got a problem doing a job for some old timers.
Yeah.
Like, I liked everything that Road Dogg did during this. Like, this could have really sucked, and this could have been miserable, and they could have been, had some bad attitudes about it. But the fact that just like, fuck it, it's pro wrestling, we don't care. I think that just makes me like those guys even more.
I've made my fucking money.
Yeah, that's kind of like, that's what you should feel like. That's what you should be like. And this is like, I think this is a little bit before maybe Road Dogg and Billy get sober, or right at that time when they've made that turn. Because I remember a couple of years earlier, they might have got a little bit salty about what's going on. But like the fact that they're like, fuck it, life is wonderful and beautiful, and let's have some fun. I like that. So.
Oh, that's... Yeah, you mentioned the ring announcer died. I was wondering, I was like, how many of these people have died? Because it's 2012, how many people are dead now? And I'm like, probably all of them.
Not so much, but I'll give you a count if you would like to know. Everybody in this match still alive except for the ring announcer.
Oh, okay, good.
So
I'm always fascinated to know who's still alive.
It's still possible for a reunion of the reunion.
Yeah, there could be a reunioning.
A reunion.
When I wrote up the Outlaws, they lost the match faster than their hair.
Let's move on to match number 2, which is kind of an impromptu. This was supposed to be one of the featured matches on the card, but once again, Fit and everybody else has to get off to the Hall of Fame. They got to get out there. So Fit was just supposed to come out for an interview. Mark Nolte does a really shitty job of making it sound that way.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of jump right into the match real early. Like, the people running the music and running the bell just jumping the gun on everything and just, like, giving away. Like, even Road Dogg made mention of it, like, God damn, you played their music before they ever hit the 3 count. You're just weird, but everybody's in a rush to get out of there. And if I remember correctly, that it was originally supposed to be that Finn was supposed to be the heel for this, but Harry comes out and jumps Fit Finley, and then they do that, and it's more of like Fit is the baby, whereas Harry's the heel. I remember the original idea that Fit suggested, because he's like, hey, I got to get out of there. Why don't we do this impromptu thing to get out of here? And, he's a WWE, former WWE producer. Now he's currently a producer, so he knows how to put together a segment. His idea was to make it impromptu, was to have Harry's mother, who was doing an autograph signing that day, come out to the ring, and they just kind of introduce her and have a little interview with her. Fit comes out and gives her a pile driver.
Yeah.
And then Harry comes in and beats the shit out of him. They have a match, and then that's what we do. But they reversed it and decided that...
So is Fit the same thing as Finley?
Fit Finley.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Fit Finley was the
I
guy.
like how this guy's mother is signing autographs. That's how famous he is.
Well, Harry Smith's mother was... She would appear on WWE television a couple times with the British Bulldog. So,
okay.
Yeah, so she'd been on a couple pay-per-views, and she was an integral part of the SummerSlam match between British Bulldog and Bret Hart. Mm-hmm.
So Fit, they announced that he's the tallest man who's ever lived. Then the ref is immediately taller than him.
Yeah. It probably sounded that way because Mark Nolte, once again, not a great announcer.
No.
And then the announcer's like, this is not a scheduled match, but he says it's so monotone, like he sounds so bored by it.
Yeah.
I guess now he's pissed that he's not a play-by-play guy.
Because now he has no clue what the fuck's going on still.
Exactly. And that's the thing. This is very put together last minute. We're just like, all we know is like these guys have to wrestle and they have to get out of here for the Hall of Fame. That's all they know, and that's all we've got. And that's pretty much why it's so rushed. And that's why Fit isn't even in ring gear.
Yeah.
Like just,
a lot of people not in gear.
Yeah, I wrote he's in his pajamas.
Yeah, and Marty is still struggling because Bill Apter isn't there. Finally pulls over Gary Lee somewhere in this point. Very much in a rush, so much in a rush that Finley almost killed Harry on a Finley roll.
Almost killed himself!
Oh my god.
How do you pile drive yourself with another man's body?
Yeah, but like the crowd finally got with it towards the end, but it was pulling teeth for both men.
Which, when you see the play out of the rest of this, your match excluded, like this was the best thing on the card.
Yeah, and they didn't care. That's what was sad, that the fans didn't care enough. But
little did they know.
Little did they know.
Had they know then what they knew at the end of it.
Little did they know that we're beginning to peak.
Yeah. We started on top.
Yeah.
And we're just revving it down from the bottom there.
To me, he was like Jesus. I was getting into it. Like, this guy's getting beat up. He gets beat up before the fight, and then he just keeps getting beat up. I guess, what did you call it? Take heat?
Yeah.
He took a lot of heat.
Mm-hmm. But what were your thoughts on the whole match entirely? What are your initial reactions?
Just, he's my hero. He's taking that heat.
Just like in life.
Oh, I like the boot to face. That's exciting. Though he's wearing sneakers. But
got it. Got it there.
Then, let's see. Finley does a sit on the face move, and he gets hit in the balls. But then they don't. It's funny because sometimes it look like they actually get hit, but it only if it's planned, so if it counts as a hit.
Mm-hmm. Of course. But
Zane, I appreciate the fact that in the first match there was the dog face gremlin, the road dog, and then in the second match, the British Bulldog son. I just appreciate all the dogs on the card. Appreciate all that.
We got all the dogs out.
All the puppies. They got puppies everywhere.
This is Michael Vick's favorite wrestling.
Yeah. Damn, one of these dogs gonna kill somebody.
At some point, the bad guy does a log roll out of the ring. He like rolls to the side, and that was my move in gymnastics class. So I was very excited.
Real good at that. So you're able to like you could feel it. You're just like, oh man, me and him connected at that
dizzy,
moment.
Yeah.
Well, and also
that's the one move I could do.
Yeah.
Freddy, a ginger gentleman, just much like myself, we can get behind a nice Irish fellow. Like
oh yeah, please.
We've got to get behind him.
Get behind that.
But anything else before we move on?
Oh, I got annoyed because they brought the chair out and then it wasn't used. That annoyed me.
Sort of.
Yeah.
That type of chair you don't want to necessarily use in a match.
I love that it was a cushioned chair.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like, oh, we'll just get a chair, and then like you're like, oh wait, finding a steel folding chair is a little bit harder than we thought, and that's usually how it happens.
This is just a real chair.
This is a real chair, and now we got to figure out how to use it. That's why I wish that we'd run wrestling shows where there's big sofa chairs, like love seats. People and people like, we got to grab a chair, and they just pick up a sofa chair.
So let's make this happen. One of our matches coming up, Jake.
Or at least a camping chair. You know what I'm saying? Like like a lounge chair.
And after the match, I wrote like they just keep lying there for like these guys are just too tired to leave the ring.
Yes, it's gonna lay here.
Moving on to match number 5, which match number 3.
I was going to say, shit, really?
Well, let me tell you.
No time.
Let me tell you the Freudian slip there, because this match is basically an advertisement for $5 wrestling.
Yeah,
that's the whole reason why this is booked, is because $5 wrestling we're doing a $5 live, which is where, Marty DeRosa and Cole Cabana watch bad wrestling and make comments about it. Mystery Science Theater-esque.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so the commentator on this show, Marty, and then Colt Cabana will be doing commentary on that and stuff like that. In the room next to the ballroom, which is the room where we did $5 Wrestling Live 3, and we had Freight Train down there to kind of cut a promo because that's what he was known for. But the room where $5 Wrestling Live took place is known as the Lee Jardine Ballroom, I believe is what it was called. And the reason why I know the name of that is because that's where the Beatles performed in America for the first time on the Ed Sullivan Show back on February 16th, 1964. I did not know that when that happened, that $5 Wrestling played the same place where the Beatles played.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
Probably the biggest moment in TV history other than like Super Bowls or whatever.
Yeah. That was just...
And then there was the Beatles. So yeah, I get that.
And that was just across the hall from where this show was happening. Like, it utterly blows my mind.
So arguably the best and worst shows occurred within 20 feet of each other?
Hey now, when Freight Train hugged it out with New Jack, that was pretty remarkable. I'll put that right up there with the Beatles being on Ed Sullivan, my friend.
I was talking about this show.
Oh, this show, yeah. For sure.
So you mentioned the Freight Train, but he's wearing a polo. So I'm like, is the Freight Train only have first-class cars? It was just weird.
Oh, he likes to be nice.
He's a high class, yeah.
He's a nicely dressed individual, and I gotta say, his collar was actually down and proper, as opposed to mine, which was up and flopped over.
This piece of shit.
I hate watching my own matches so much. Which the match is me versus Matt Classic, and I just was like, I have a hard time watching my own matches, especially from this time period, which was like the worst time of my entire life.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I met you here.
You remember how miserable my life was?
We were known to one another for months at most.
Yes.
Damn, you're fighting Matt Classic. The announcer says, "We all know this guy," and I just assumed that no one knew who he was because he doesn't even have intro music.
Did you give him like the heads up that you were on this show before he watched?
No, I was freaked. I was like, oh my god.
So did you realize it right away that it was him? Or did it take a minute? You're like, wait a minute.
But then I did think Man Scout, that sounds like a nickname of a legendary gay porn booker.
Well, let me tell you something about Jake.
Yeah. You might not know that about me.
Listen, about porn.
I'm very big on the dark web.
Don't look too hard under there. You'll find me.
Yeah, exactly. Don't look too hard underneath those rocks on the internet. It's me and Edward Snowden, okay?
Oh, wow. This is a different rabbit hole we don't want to talk about on this podcast.
We do not. We got to keep that quiet. But, what were your thoughts on the match, Freddie?
Tell me fucking suck.
Do I suck?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I thought you were right, yeah.
Decent match.
Now, I kept thinking that you were going to get your ass kicked in the Freight Train. I was waiting for the Freight Train to start fighting. There was a lot of like, oh, here's a wrestler who looks like he'd be fun to watch who doesn't wrestle. The Freight Train, Jake the Snake at one point. Mm-hmm. There's another one. And the Freight Train also sounded like an 8-year-old girl when he was rooting for you. So then I wrote, is the Freight he's carrying Barbies?
Yes. Yes. Yep.
At some point he does a move that looks like butt sex onto you. Like he hits you with his butt.
Yeah. Yeah, that's Matt Classic for you.
That's
classically
move,
using his butt.
Classically.
Which, by the way, let me tell you about Matt Classic.
Piece of shit.
Allegedly. Well, notoriously.
Yeah,
excuse me. He was actually terrified because if you notice the design on his mask is very similar to a guy we see later in Masked Superstar.
Oh, that's a good point.
And he
Super Destroyer.
Yeah, well they call him Superstar. But
Superstar, I'm like, that's only one of those things is true.
But Masked Superstar, Super Destroyer. But the reason why he got that mask design, he's like, I never thought I'd be on the same show with him ever, so I never thought this would be an issue. So what he did right before he went out to the curtain is he wore a towel around his head, like a turban, to cover up the design of his mask, so he wouldn't get pissed off that he's basically walking out there with his mask.
Yeah.
So he was almost petrified about it.
And then just ripped it off when he got in the back real fast.
Yeah, and just ripped it off right before he walked out there, did the match, and then covered his head, and then took it off immediately so he wouldn't be caught by it. So that was a funny little story, and I don't think a lot of people realize, because it's like, when I do this character, there's no way that I'll ever be on the same show.
So why do they need me if they actually have the mask?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's very much a comedy, match, and because they're set up for $5 Wrestling, which is a comedy promotion. So this is just a big advertisement. That's why Matt Classic gets on the microphone, and I get on the microphone. We both plug that, hey, we're playing the same room that the Beatles played. So,
in so many words.
In so many
words. But you don't mention the Beatles. The announcer keeps calling your muscles trapezius.
Well, he's hitting my trapezius.
Oh, is that what it? Okay, I thought it was a compliment. Oh, okay, yeah.
It's for traps, bro. He saw I did a lot of shrugs, so he attacked the biggest muscle on me. So that's basically what happened.
Because it wasn't those thighs that Kevin Sullivan tried to.
Yes, those big thighs.
It wasn't those.
Yeah, I had to get my big traps from looking at Lex Luger because he did the torture.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a couple moves that I don't even do anymore, like the flare flip in the corner and then run down double axe. Don't do that with the bad knees anymore.
Nope.
And I wasn't even good at them before, so I cut out the two worst things that I did in this match. Pretty happy about that.
Which was 50% of your offense.
Yeah, I know. I have to say that this match, even though
best on the card.
I cringed watching it a bit, but I gotta say that this match is far better than any match I've ever had with Colt Cabana. So I don't know why I just brought his name up.
Because even though Matt Classic's a piece of shit, he's a way better wrestler than Colt Cabana.
Well, he's a little bit more in my wheelhouse. He does all the old school moves, and I know.
You guys have been around for about the same
exactly
amount of time in life.
Yeah, we broke into the business about the same time. We're just as bitter, just as angry, But Freddie, any other thoughts about my match?
I just thought you were the hero, and you kept wrestling from costing $6 or more, which I was happy about.
All right. That's where I like to keep it.
When the announcer says "State of Miami" at some point.
Yep. Classic DeRosa.
All right, we've just peaked during this show, and now we're on the slow downward spiral with match number 4, Wolfman taking on Willie Clay Jr. Gentlemen, any questions about this match?
I like that the announcer's like, oh, they might get... He lists all these contracts people might get, and I was just like, they didn't get any of these. And then they get into this thing where they talk about becoming a wrestling manager and the test. And I just wanted to see this reality show where people compete or learn how to become wrestling managers in the process.
Ooh, that would be a very good spoof of The Bachelor.
Yeah, people just become,
Ooh, we could do a digital.
Yeah.
We'll do a digital short.
Yeah, here we go.
I think we've got something very interesting. But yeah, part of this was done as a favor because Wolfman had been wanting to get on some better shows, and you roll your eyes at Wolfman, Zane, but
I fucking hate Wolfman.
I have a soft spot for Wolfman. He was a $5 wrestling guy, but we call him Mr. $6 because his wrestling was just slightly better than the $5 guys.
Yeah.
So, this was kind of throwing him a bone in a sense hey, there's going to be a lot of people that pay attention to the show. You're going to get on the show, display your stuff, and hopefully something sticks for you, and hopefully people like you and find out about you. And
did it happen?
Not really.
Okay. I liked him, though.
He
was very athletic.
Yeah, like I said, he has a good look. He's an interesting character. I think that he could have listened a little bit more throughout his career. I think a lot of people tried to help him, and he didn't really listen, and he thought people were giving him bad advice or messing with him mentally.
But then, took advice from bad people.
Yeah, he took bad advice from bad people and took that to heart as opposed to the good advice that people were giving him. And I feel like in a different world, with if pulled into the right scenario, he could have been far more successful than he probably was. So I have a great affinity towards him. So I don't have a lot to say about this match other than I'm not for sure if they botched a hip toss or he was going for the Mitch Snow hip toss that turns into a power slam. Also, too, I do remember they dropped each other on their heads a couple of times, so that's probably
classic Wolfman.
I'm pretty sure that's how things kind of fell apart. But what were your thoughts on the match, Freddie?
I saw the Wolf had what looked like a WWE logo on his shorts, so I was worried about him getting sued.
It looks closer to a WWN logo, actually.
Either way.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is a great athlete. He's like Tiger Woods or Floyd Mayweather. At one point, the announcer says, these fans are educated. And I wrote, and only about wrestling.
Yeah.
Arguable.
Anything else? Zane, how about yourself?
Fuck Wolfman.
Okay, all right. You said it. I've defended him enough. You can have that stance.
Willie Clay Sr. threatened to shoot me one time. That's about all.
Who actually got his manager license as well?
Yeah, in the state of Florida.
But definitely not his gun license. Is what you're saying.
No. Hey, we were at he threatened to shoot me at a church. You were there.
I wasn't there.
You weren't there.
I weren't there.
Caleb Conley was there, and the other Mr. Elite.
Mm-hmm. This is why I visit the South to hear stories like this.
He threatened to shoot me at a church show.
Well, this happens from time to time.
You know.
That's the independent wrestling scene for you, Freddie.
It's crazy.
Yeah, we don't fuck around.
Mr. C at some point blocks a suplex just by being fat.
Yeah, it's gravity.
Yeah,
we started blocking all my moves that way.
The announcer mentions that he has an intern, which I assume didn't exist.
It was Bill Apter. He also didn't show up for that.
Bill Apter's still looking for coffee.
Yeah.
So. But if we don't get anything else, let's move on to match number 5, which is Vader versus Nick Fury and Steve Stasiak.
Yeah!
Zane, you're super excited to talk about this one.
Vader.
Jump right in.
Me and Nick Fury had my very first independent match. He's a South Carolina Spartanburg area legend.
Legend?
I think he's got a drug problem.
Okay. All right.
I don't know if he's still alive. I assume he's alive. He might not be alive. I don't know.
Is that all the info you have on that?
I wrestled Vader once. It was cool. Stasiak, he's the guy that does all that Book Pro Wrestlers stuff now. So
I think this kind of started that.
Yeah, and then he also dates Leilani Kai, who we see later.
Yes.
They're a thing. But yeah, Nick Fury. Real fucked up on pills all the time. That's all I got.
Well, when you take bumps like that, can you blame a guy?
Hey man.
Listen.
So I was disappointed because Vader won the WCW title at some point, but he's not in the
Before
video game WCW NW Revenge.
Well, he was in WWF at the time when that was going on.
Oh, is that why? Like I said, that's my whole intro to it. I wondered if George Lucas ever tried to sue him for the name.
I think it was like a cartoon character in Japan. It was something Vader, and that's why they made the big Vader mask that's very large and stuff like that.
So another thing that occurred this weekend, because you mentioned Boy Meets World earlier. At one point during the weekend, I was Tito Santana's handler. And
handler as the guy that handles the money with autograph signing.
Oh, okay.
Like
oh, no, like jerked him off too, but that's...
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's what we mean by handler.
Yeah, I handled his balls. And,
him and Mr. Wonderful.
Yeah, it was great. He wasn't there. He was dead at the time. So like it's Tito, and then like caddy corner behind me is Vader's table, and Vader did have the Mastodon gimmick, I believe. They say on the thing that he didn't, but I think he did have it. And like at one point, like all these girls are coming through, and he's like flirting with every single one of them, and he's like just kind of whatever in the guys, and just like signing and fucking sending them on. Then this one girl comes up and he's fucking hitting on her hard, and she's kind of flirting back. And then she goes, "I didn't even know you were going to be here. I loved you in Boy Meets World."
Oh, yeah.
And his whole fucking demeanor just like, "Get out of here, bitch." He like packed up after that. He was not having it. And like the entire time he was like texting on his phone while like people are talking to him. He's like, yeah, signed by. But yeah.
Oh, that's crap. Because that show, that was on regular TV. That was on that wasn't on cable. That's probably more people know him from that than from wrestling.
For sure. Like,
be happy about that.
If the world was going to know you as a whole, it would definitely be from Boy Meets World.
It was a classic episode. It was a 2-day. It was
two-parter.
They had 2 dates at the same time. It was Topanga's Sweet 16, and then this other girl that they're friends with. Her dad is Vader, and they got to go to the match, and they have to go back and forth like the very classic sitcom trope. And then Vader wins, and I think then they show up to the Sweet 16 with some kind of Vader mask on, and they get in trouble. But it's a great episode from right in the best part of that show before they got old and the show became terrible. So really, Vader should be proud of that. And it's the first line of his obituary. Be Vader, who was in one episode of Boy Meets World, and then whatever the wrestling stuff would be.
Fuck, he's kind of a piece of shit. Let's fucking put it out there.
At this time, he was a big piece of shit. I don't...
What about this year at WrestleMania, Zane? At WrestleCon. Where they called the cops on him.
Oh, yeah. No, wait, yeah. That was Vader, wasn't it? I wasn't around for that. The Vader that I knew near and dear to my heart was 3 years ago. I want the rematch.
You just want to wrestle him again, where he doesn't give you a damn thing. You just take all his stuff. He's super stiff with you. He's the shit out of you.
First off, lightest man that I've ever worked. Hand to God. He didn't fucking touch me at all. 2, After the match, I rubbed Icy Hot on his back because it hurt. And then I carried his bag to the door, and he gave me $10.
Oh.
That happened. It's going to the book. Fuck you, Jake Manning.
That's all it takes is $10.
Oh, yeah. Well, I just told you I was Tito Santana's handler.
Really, because I've seen him take like better athletes. I'm like, all right, this is going to happen, and only gives them like a fire up spot and then hit the ropes, and that's the only offense he gives. He gave Tony Nese. That's all the offense he gave Tony Nese, a guy who can do just about everything in the ring, and that's all he gave him as an offense at a wrestling show at Northeast Wrestling. I was immediately offended by that.
I got
also too this past WrestleMania, some guy. Stopped him as he was a security guard for the venue.
That did happen.
Stop Vader on something like, hey, hold on a second. And Vader had none of it, pushed the fucking guy, and then they called the cops on him, and Vader ran out of the building.
To follow that up,
please.
As soon as that happened, I messaged Ryan Satin of former TMZ and current, the Wrestling Sheet
Yeah,
guy?
something like that.
Messaged him and was like, if I can break this, fucking Vader, the cops are here looking for him, and this is why. And then, like, some time passes, and he messaged me back.
Oh, so you won't go on record on our podcast, but you go on record with Ryan Satin's, like...
Yeah, people listen to that one?
Yeah, but you're like, well, I don't know exactly what happened, but no, Ryan Satin, I got all the details.
No, like, well, I wasn't there to see it, but I was still let him know. At least there's cops here to know that much.
Okay.
When you said that part, I remembered what happened with Vader.
Okay.
At first, I did not recall.
Yeah.
I was like,
but I got that story right, though.
Yes.
Okay. I have no problem talking shit about somebody if it's true.
No, by all means.
Okay.
Why I redacted the statement and said what I knew Vader near and dear to my heart. But yeah, totally did this. Message Satin. It's like, hey man, I'm gonna break this story. A little bit later, Satin messaged me back like, I just called Vader and that shit didn't happen. And I was, oh fuck, he's gonna think I'm just trying to feed him bullshit. Mm-hmm. And like he was like, he was totally like that didn't fucking happen, and like he was kind of annoyed by it. And then he messaged me a couple minutes later. So Vader called me back, and turns out something did happen. Can I get some names of people that I can like message to confirm this? And I was like, nope, ignore. You're not gonna take it in the first place. You don't get it. You don't get me at my best if you don't take me at my worst, Ryan Satin. Put that out there.
Zane Marilyn Monroe over here.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Also too, I gotta bring up Zader tried to hit on my girlfriend.
Zader did?
Vader. Yeah.
Vader? Zader? Vader? It's real hot in here, Jake.
We're delirious right now. We're making up wrestling. But yeah, Vader hit on my girlfriend one time.
Yeah,
so, fuck him. Like,
all right, Jake, you're right. I'll hop back on this fuck Vader train with you.
But yeah, he just beat the guys up. I thought that's what the audience liked, but you're right. He didn't give them any offense.
Not that they really deserve it.
Yeah, but like I've seen him do that to guys that more farly deserve a little bit of offense, and like it would just behoove you to just kind of stagger a little bit, maybe take a knee, maybe take somebody's something, like, hey, you got something big you do off the top rope or like a crossbody and I'll take one bump for you. But no, he just wants to beat the shit out of people. He did this shit to fucking Necro Butcher. He just beat up Necro Butcher and then just got out and like, I got my money. We signed him for like his whole deal to go to all these wrestle reunions. And, we obviously, like, made a bunch of masks in Mexico for him to, him to sell along in conjunction with everything. And you did all this stuff, for him. And we made a couple things, maybe some T-shirts or whatever. But, like, we did this whole merch thing with Vader because we were going to see him at 3 of these wrestle reunions because we had, like, a bunch of them all in a row. And everything was cool. He knew what we were doing and everything was fine. We discussed it. And then as soon as he did the last convention, he sued us for using his likeness on the videos, using the mask, which he didn't own the rights for. So, like, real fucking piece of shit. So...
Okay, can I tell some Vader fat jokes then?
Yeah! Go right ahead. Yeah. Let's see it. Let's hear it.
2-on-1 match, and he's fighting 2 guys who are his combined weight. Even though one of them is fat. They mentioned breakfast.
Let's hold for that laughter right there.
Get it, Steve.
They mentioned breakfast with Vader, and the announcer had it. I'm like, he must have starved. He's known as the brick wall, and I wrote the brick ball of fat.
Yeah.
They don't give the names for the other wrestlers. I feel like that he's fighting.
Well, they didn't know him,
yeah.
and I didn't even know that they were on the show until it happened.
Yeah,
so.
I didn't either.
But,
I like how they mentioned the announcer's like, oh no, there's no concussion policy here. That was good. The Vader bomb is not a fart. I was surprised by that. It's basically just a belly flop off the top, well, even the middle row.
And another thing too, doesn't even go on his knees to protect the guy. Just all foul on him. He doesn't totally fucking take care of the people he fucking wrestles. So another reason to say, fuck you, Vader. Made a fucking aggressive stance.
And after looking at Vader, they decided we needed to get to see some women.
Yeah.
So we had seen too much masculinity at that point.
2017, we got. Or at this time, it was what
2012. Yeah, we're still crying on the bubble of being progressive. We're still pulling models off of the cover of swimsuit magazines and then trying to teach them how to wrestle.
Yeah,
that's kind of where we're at in wrestling right now. But
that's Amber O'Neil is like that.
No, let me tell you about Amber's background since we're getting into match number 6, Leilani Kai versus Amber O'Neil. Actually, when Amber first started wrestling, it was against multiple matches with Leilani Kai. Like, Amber had kind of a very limited training, because that's what used to happen with female wrestlers. They would just throw them into the ring very early, put them in the ring with a veteran, which Leilani was. So a lot of Amber's early matches were her wrestling Leilani on Ricky Nelson shows around here in the Carolinas and Virginia area. So she would always be wrestling Leilani. They would kind of do a similar match, or she would kind of like branch it out and teach her on the fly. So like the fact that she got to wrestle Leilani at this point, this is like me wrestling George South or somebody that is a teacher of mine, and the fact that Leilani put over Amber is kind of cool, and it's a nice little thing to kind of break up the pace. Yeah. So not mad about this match, but what are you guys' thoughts?
Well, Leilani also had a porn star name, I think.
Okay.
Leilani Kai, I thought like that's a porn star, and then April O'Neil, But then he calls her. He never stops saying Amber and April O'Neil. He never stops messing that up. The announcer.
Not at all.
He clearly watched an April O'Neil movie right before he came out to work that day.
Well, that happens.
I didn't even know that April O'Neil was a porn star. I just kept thinking the girl from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, he never addresses that. He could have said that to avoid, but he had to just say that's a porn star.
Yeah.
He went for the weirder option. Yeah. Okay, like
he was probably thinking, no one's gonna fucking listen to this.
Yeah.
I can say whatever I want to say.
That's kind of at this point in
Fuck
time.
Vader.
But after the last 2 matches, can you blame him for thinking that's what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
Like,
he's still waiting on Bill Apter to show up.
He's still. I'm still waiting for Bill Apter to show up. So.
Bill made the right call.
Not to be associated with the show whatsoever.
They have to say Leilani's weight of 185, which is not super polite to say about a woman. They don't say Amber's weight at any point.
Well, like nowadays, like when women are announced, they don't even announce weight.
Yeah, you just
totally taboo.
And then one of the announcers is like, "Oh, she's in the best shape of her life," and the other announcer's like, "Oh no, that's not true."
I thought that was weird too. Like, see, this is still kind of the point where, like, when you commentate a women's match, it gets very oogly and ogly, and that's just the way it is, and that's the way it was. And, now we're better. We treat them as athletes in the same respect that we treat men, which thankfully we got to that point. But this is like at that time where things are starting to transition, and we're asking those questions like, is this right? Is this wrong? What are we doing here? What are we trying to do? So
yeah.
At some point they do body scissors. I guess like a reference to scissoring maybe.
Yeah, well,
she's also a customs wrestler still at this point. So.
Which Amber sometimes gets lost in custom world. Like she thinks she's in a custom match, and we're like,
this what's
shit,
made her money.
It's like, oh shit, there's people here now.
Body scissors.
What's customs mean?
Clothes porn.
It's basically empty arena matches where it's a lot of holds and stuff like that, and it gets posted online or gets sent off to guys that just want to see girls wrestling each other.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it tends to be a little bit more like that. You and I have done custom matches. I've wrestled women on those, and actually one of my favorite comedic performances was with Zane Riley as the referee against me versus Sarah Del Rey, who is now basically teaching all of the WWE female wrestlers right now, and she does a fantastic job and has for the last several years.
So there's matches you've been in that guys like masturbate to?
Yes.
Oh, sure. Even regular ones in front of people.
Yeah.
Like,
But some made for the sole purpose of jerking off. That also, yes.
Yeah. You get rid of the crowd because when you see other people, I guess that makes them feel weird. And also you personalize it and you talk dirty or you yell or whatever. I don't know. It's just...
Oh, man.
It's a weird thing.
There's an underweb to wrestling.
Like I said, really big on the dark web.
There's a documentary called Tickled about like underground male tickling videos, and this guy who like is a magnate in that, and like
only
documentary on Netflix. Yeah, that's
exactly. It's sometimes those are like maybe 2 or 3 steps away from that.
Oh yeah, no, the tickling's weirder, I bet.
Yeah, like I said, Caleb Conley, avoid Jane O'Brien Media.
Yeah.
Please, dear God, I've said it once.
Could have ruined that poor boy.
I've said it 1,000 times.
Say it every day.
But something we might have seen 1,000 times or not. Match number 7, Tito Santana taking on Honky Tonk Man, which, during the fundraiser eras of the early 80s and early 90s, like in Northeast wrestling shows, like this match used to happen a lot. And, this is a likely thing because Tito Santana, famously an Intercontinental Champion, Honky Tonk Man, heralded as the best Intercontinental Champion of all time. So it's a natural thing that would get put on fundraiser shows in the late 80s, early 90s, and stuff like that on the circuit. Honky got really mad at Tito for especially this time, but verbalized it as opposed to probably normally what he does. He goes, "Goddamn fucking Tito never wants to put me over when we wrestle." And he goes, "Fuck you." You know what I'm saying? He's like, "Fuck you, Tito. You can put me over at least one fucking time." This happens in the match where Honky's just like, "You know what? I've had enough of fucking Chico Santana.
What are they going to do? Nobody's paying attention to this."
Yeah.
So Honky Tonk Man's a ripoff of Elvis, right?
Yes, because Honky came around in the time of WWF where Vince would hear like a couple of lines about your background, and then he would formulate what character you were. Like, all Honky Tonk Man had to do is say, I wrestled in the Memphis territory. "Oh, Memphis, that's where Elvis is from. You're going to be an Elvis impersonator,"
Oh, that makes total sense.
much like Colt Cabana, like, "Oh, how big of a Jew are you?" And that's why they called him Scotty Goldman. And, so he takes one or two lines from your existence, and then he makes it that, like, much like Sin Bodhi. He told him he did Carnival Freak Show stuff on the side. He goes, "Oh, Carnival, huh? We're going to call you Kiss Arnie." Like, he just takes a line from your personal bio of who you are as a person and then creates a wrestling character, which is exactly what I did. I was an Eagle Scout. "Oh, Scout, huh? Maybe the Scout Master. That's what we'll call you." That's kind of what he would do, but I just beat Vince to the punch. So that's basically how Honky Tonk Man did that. And we see here, we get the jumpsuit Honky, which is extra for price, so we spared no expense for Pro
Wrestling Superstar. Tone down that H word a little bit? Fuck. You
Honky?
said it real, man.
Listen, I'm allowed to say honky, okay? I am reveling in saying honky as much as I want.
Some hard H's coming out.
It's not like I'm saying Peckerwood.
Whoa. Or Jive Turkey.
Were people into hearing him sing? Because, like, at first it's like, oh, let's have him sing for like 5 minutes.
I like how they say concert, but like, let's put air quotes around concert, much in the same sense of a riff-raff concert.
Yeah.
He's just vibing to his own music.
I put that shit on everything.
Honky calls out Jake the Snake Roberts several times, but this match is perfectly fine. But what are your guys' thoughts on it?
When he was singing, I was like, this concert is not worth the $5 for $5 wrestling. His bell bottoms looked a lot like Amber's shoes. Amber had these crazy shoes on with like fur on them.
The furry leg warmers?
Yes. Which is a big thing.
Oh, yeah.
They keep calling him Jake Roberts. It's like, you gotta say Jake the Snake. Otherwise it just sounds like an accountant.
Zane, are you okay with this match?
Yeah, it happened. It was good. I was more interested in what Jake Roberts was doing. Hey, that didn't happen. Like, nothing accumulated from that.
And keep in mind, this is not yet sober Jake Roberts.
Yeah, no, because they even talk about, like, he's mimicking throwing a beer bottle at him. Like, Then I remember seeing him at the bar before, or during this weekend. Like, I remember that day. I remember those Jakes. Yep.
It's nice to see that he's got his life together. And actually, I remember when we saw him at Bad Monster Party, I was completely and utterly inebriated. And Kazarni, who I just mentioned just briefly a little bit ago, was hanging out with Jake to make sure that he stayed sober that weekend.
Young boy that weekend.
And he was like, and he's like, Jake, meet Jake, and we shook hands, and I was clearly inebriated. And when I shook hands with Jake, my only thought was like, dear God, I hope you can't tell that I'm completely bombed right now, and that I don't break your sobriety just by seeing somebody who looks just like you, but shorter, and be like, gosh, what he's doing must be fun.
Man, Jake Roberts, I can't really believe I'm shaking your hand all Jake Roberts now now.
So,
it happened. It was great.
Some announcers thought the announcers ask if the announcers say the winners get paid more. Is that true? In
the winner's purse?
Yeah, that's always the story that we tell. Not true, but...
And then at some point Honky just falls over from being fat. And they're like,
you're lucky that you got that. You're lucky he just went to a knee. Like,
yeah, he doesn't usually. Yeah, and then at some point he doesn't leave the ring even after the match. I guess if he leaves, then his career will just be over.
He gets paid by the minute.
Yeah. I didn't have a lot for this match.
Okay, just happened.
It happened.
Yeah.
But then we get to match number 8 and hopefully have a lot for it because there's a lot going on. Match number 8, a salute to Florida Championship Wrestling. Special guest referee Nikita Koloff. And then let's take this step by step on the introductions here because I think something the reason why they're individually announced like they are is because we're not expecting these guys to go long. We're just like, hey, do an 8-man, do whatever, we don't care.
Yeah.
Don't go long. So we knew that they weren't going to do a whole lot in the ring because we know that the introductions are a bigger thing for these guys. But we didn't realize
took forever.
The intros timed out at about 12 plus minutes.
Yeah.
The match itself ended up being 18 minutes. We were fine with it only going 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But
collective, like curtain to curtain.
And I don't think we realized they decided to make it an elimination.
Huh?
I think they just decided to do that at some point in time, and we didn't know it, and had to clear the room because we had other events going on, and we just want to get out of there and move on. And then all of a sudden, B. Brian Blair wants to do a little bit of work.
Brother.
And some of these guys want to feel their oats a little bit. So I think Marty put it best after like one of the opening spots. Marty's like, man, this match is going to go on for a really long time. But so let's go through the introductions. Gary Royal, the first one out, comes out to zero reaction, which I feel bad because I love Gary Royal. He is a former tag partner of my trainer, George South, and nobody knows who he is. Unfortunately, even in Gary Royal's prime, not a lot of people knew who he was. So.
I was not a fan. I wrote, he looks like an old fat politician.
Well, B. Brian Blair is a politician, but he's not fat. So
he's old, though.
He is old.
And then somebody, the announcer says, if I think about him, I don't know if he's still junior heavyweight eligible, which means he got fat.
But great guy. I love Gary Royal. I can't say too many bad things about him. But great guy. Whatever.
Oh yeah, if any of these actual wrestlers are listening, I'd love to meet you. And yeah, you're all my heroes. Like this is just stick.
Ron Bass comes out. He comes out with a whip. Now he used to do appearances without that mustache, but then as he started doing the circuit, he's like, I need to grow the mustache back. So I must salute him for that. But did have a hard time getting in the ring, and that clip made it on Botchamania.
Oh, good.
So that's been discussed other places, but it should be noted, but I don't know if we need to go any further into it.
I wrote about him so old.
I feel so bad, and he had another couple years of life after this, so I at this point in time, like, as I saw Ron Bass in this match, I'm like, you don't have to do this.
Yeah.
You don't have to be in this match. That's kind of my position on Ron Bass in this match. I think a lot of people have.
Were a lot of these guys
the
doing badly financially, like in the movie The Wrestler?
Well, this is just one of those things. We paid you to do an autograph appearance and be on this show. We don't care what you did. Like, he could have stood on the apron the whole time, and we would have been perfectly happy with that. Because it's all about the entrance. Because he did the entrance, he did the bull whip, he's got the mustache, he's got the hat. Yeah. Get it, good, fine.
And the autographs are after.
Yeah, or they're before.
They've already happened.
They've already happened.
Oh, okay.
So this is just the last thing he has got to do on the outside before he leaves.
Cherry.
Yeah. This before he leaves.
I wrote of the first 4 guys, these guys should be playing bridge.
You know, it might have been a little bit more.
You trying to tell me Lenny Poffo went back to playing some bridge?
Oh, I guarantee he did. Mass Superstar comes out. We already discussed the story of that. Then Larry Zbyszko comes out with Paul Jones. I vividly remember Larry Zbyszko cracking me up in the locker room before his match because he just kept bitching about how he couldn't find a cup of coffee. He's like, I fucking hate Miami. Fucking motherfucker, I'm just trying to get a parking spot. I want to get some coffee. No, I don't want a fucking Americano. Give me a fucking black coffee. And if you know anything about Larry Zbyszko, he's very particular about his coffee.
Oh, man. No cafe leche for him.
And then, of course, on the other side of the ring, we have Carlos Colon, Laney Poffo, B. Brian Blair, Mike Graham, who, I gotta say, I talked to Mike Graham for 30 minutes, and I feel like I got smarter after talking to him. So I think it's sad that he's no longer with us.
Is he the genius, or that's someone else?
No,
he was the last guy that came out. He was the guy with the red trunks.
I like that someone was the former genius. I assume they got hit in the head a bunch of times.
Yeah. He's just like, I'm done being a genius now. I've retired as a genius. But like I said, this goes on way too long, and then they randomly say, "Oh, Bugsy McGraw is here to counteract Paul Jones." Like this is, you know what this is? This is old men playing.
Yeah.
This was like Mark Nolte and all these guys just kind of playing around, just having a little bit of fun at the audience expense, and that's kind of what this match is. So,
I thought Mike Graham looked like Larry Tate from Bewitched.
I like when who was the Gary Royal and I think Mike Graham were in the ring, and they were talking about how these guys were like the trailblazers and forerunners of cruiserweight wrestling.
Yeah, well, they kind of were. They kind of were.
But then to see them then, like I don't think they're American 205.
No, not so much. But it'd be interesting to see because, like I like I said, I like Mike Graham, I like Gary Royal.
Yeah,
we'll leave it as that.
Too.
But we got to say something, especially about Ron Bass's double attempt at the body slam into a small package and then roll up with his feet in the ropes, shoulders not down, but he got pinned anyways.
Good. He's like, no, don't you stop counting. Nikki J.
I believe with Nikita Koloff.
Oh, that's right, Nikita Koloff.
I believe the exact words probably in that predicament were "fuck it, just count."
Yeah.
But also too, the mics picked up a very interesting interaction with B. Brian Blair's like, "Oh no!" After Mass Superstar got pinned, he's like, "No, leave him in. He's twice my age. Give him a fair shake." And Mass Superstar quickly saying, 3 times. Which I greatly appreciate.
Yeah.
Also, too, I must make note, the ringside camera guy is Joey Janela, who most people know more now because he's rose to prominence, but this is very much during Joey Janela's paying his dues process.
Yeah, I kept noticing that guy, and then I'm like, they're never cutting to that camera.
He was very bad.
Okay, yeah.
Let's just say he's a better wrestler than he is a ringside camera guy.
So
he's the shits. So
let's not have a spit take. I got very expensive equipment.
So there's a Brian Blair. I can't wait for the announcer to call him Brianna Blair, who was the name of another porn star who was big at this time.
Well, I mean, we're making that mistake left and right in this match.
I don't know how she resembles. Maybe.
But, so this match, it goes down how it goes down. But here's the thing that I will say after I've tried to defend a couple of these guys. These are very much the type of guys that look at a match that has a bunch of high spots to it and dives and flips and moonsaults and stuff like that and say, you guys are bullshit. We know how to work. You should have saw our 8-man tag earlier in the day. We tore it down. People believe. like these.
Oh, they're trying to pretend like it's real.
Yeah, like these guys would all shit on a match that took place in that room later on that night, a 6-way match for Dragon Gate USA with Chuck Taylor versus Shima versus Lince Dorado versus Rich Swann versus Samurai Del Sol, who is Callisto right now, and special surprise guest in the match, El Generico, who performed for Ring of Honor earlier that day. Yeah. I guarantee if these 8 guys saw that 6-way match, they would have shit all over it and referenced how good this match would have been.
And we had 2 more people to get in the way.
Yeah, and see, and that's
not because they lost their control of their colon, but just because they didn't like it.
But see, that's
just because it's an evolved form of wrestling.
And see, and that's really essentially my problem with older guys when they make that comment. Like, you're still willing to put tights on and go in there and wrestle, and it looks like that. But then when somebody accurately does like a dive or a moonsault or do a lot of high spots, you immediately shit on it right away. And can't you just say like, hey, when I did wrestling at the time, it worked very well. What you're doing right now seems to be working very well. Good for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, they drew the same amount of people, basically. If anything, Dragon Gate USA drew more people. You know? So, like, why can't you just get over yourselves and just be happy that young kids are trying to move the sport further as an art form? And that's... And I think of that so much when I watch this match. I'm like, gosh, later, just in a few hours, in this same room, the Beatles won't be playing, but this 6-way match will be taking place. And I remember watching it being fantastic. And just thinking that every one of these guys in this main event match would have shit all over that.
3 of them in the WWE now.
Yeah. Yeah, I just listed off guys that are in WWE. So, like,
awesome.
and one of them was a big mainstay in Japan. Like, he's one of the big guys. So it's just like... If anything, like the thing is too, if that 6-way match was on this show, they would bitch about that. But it's like, no, just be happy that people are doing something unique and different, and not what you do. You know, like just be happy. And I hate that. And that's I I think that's basically the overall arcing point
Yeah.
of what I'm trying to make at the end here. So that's kind of the way it goes.
Which is kind of a hotkey right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what's upsetting to me is that those guys put on this match, which is not very good at all.
No.
But claim that it was, and then shit on people that are doing something fantastic, different, unique, and pushing the sport forward as an art form. And anytime people limit growth, it's not good for the overall product.
Yes.
At least these guys got theirs because the announcer was shitting on them the entire match. The announcer complains the match is going too long.
Well, I can tell you that the announcer was
explain.
far more looking forward to the six-way later on that night as opposed to this.
Did he
doing
get
this
to
match.
announce that also?
No, he was probably there in attendance watching. I know
Oh,
that
okay,
for
yeah.
sure, so.
They got a better announcer for that. I love when they say in Florida you're allowed to kick a guy in the throat. That's it.
Can't do that anywhere else.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things in Florida that you can get away with. Like right now, there's probably a guy in Florida that just crashed through a Panera Bread with a Hummer with an alligator in the back. So, like, it's no man's land.
Yeah.
And at some point the
Martial
announcers
law.
bad on the match. And I assumed in wrestling the announcers knew who was going to win, but I guess this is way less coordinated. And then it's like they're betting $500. I'm like, there's no way this bet is getting paid off.
No.
There's no way that those two guys had $500.
And then they also bet how the $500 is how much their car costs. So I'm like, you guys are pretty poor. You're not able to bet $500.
But any other thoughts on this match?
It's over.
It's over. Any other thoughts about this show?
I was just like, the match is over. Now these guys got to go back to the pharmacy at Walmart.
They're all greeters.
Well, they're either greeters or they're definitely got to like, oh, I need the pain medication.
Yeah.
My beta
They're working
blockers.
just for free. They're greeters just so they can steal pain medication.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like this match was just, this whole show was just thrown out there and like just do with it whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like you got to take it down a peg because this was an idea of the promoters of Wrestle Union, like, let's just do this and that.
See what happens.
Like let's just put whatever wrestling out into the air. You know, forget the fact that some of the bigger guys and the guys that are willing to work, they got to leave early. It doesn't matter. We're just getting people's money, and that's what. Anytime you look at it as a situation like, let's just use pro wrestling as to just throw it out there as a gimme or whatever, and not use it as a thing like, hey, let's do something cool that people want to see. Stuff like this happens, and as somebody that's a supporter of the art form, I hate it when this happens, even when I'm directly associated to it. So it could be better.
So how much were the tickets for this show?
I think it was incorporated into your admission into the event.
Oh, so for the autograph.
Free, basically.
Basically, it's a free show, so hence you get what you paid for.
And how many people were there? But it didn't look like a lot of people, but then they never panned to the audience.
Well, and also you keep in consideration there's still a full-on convention going on around this.
Oh, yeah, so it was pretty easy.
So you'd have to have been tired of walking around to even see this show.
So some people would sit down for a little bit, then get up and walk away. I mean, maybe 200 or 300 people at most. You know, like just it's kind of whatever.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, this show just kind of happened, so I feel like it should be mentioned in the annals.
It was also the forerunner of what you're getting today with like the WrestleCon Super shows.
See, that's the thing. Like these are the type of shows that would just be like, let's just give it away for free. But now, like, you know, like the WrestleCon Super shows, there is months upon months upon months of thought of what is the best match, what's going to work right here, what do people want to see, what's going to work better on download and streaming later on, what's going to work great for the live crowd, where do we need to put like for something that just got thrown together last minute. And people just kind of mishmashed, however, and we're just doing this and having matches that are just to advertise another event, to now look at the way the WrestleCon Super shows have evolved into this massive event. It's, you know, it just shows how much growth has been put into the Wrestle Union WrestleCon experiment through highspots.com. So, any other thoughts about the show?
So was this one of the first of its kind? Like, was there one of these in like 2011 or 10 or whatever?
Yeah, there have been a couple of them and stuff like that, but like this was very much thrown together. This is probably the worst one of those, and this was a clear thing of like, hey, let's just not even put on a wrestling show if it's going to be like this.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we learned. So.
Oh, cool.
We can't have a full show with this. We can have one or two matches like this. And like now, we would just have Honky Tonk Man versus Tito, and that would be it. So, he would have served the same thing. All right, anything else? We're good on this. We've discovered it, covered it. This is going to come out next Thursday. So, Zane, what do you have to discuss with people to let people know to check out and do and all that stuff?
I don't think I have anything.
Okay.
It's Tournament of Death, and I won't be there. So.
Okay.
But hey, Tournament of Death is happening.
All right. Yeah, go check that out.
Yeah, man.
Streaming right there. Freddie, you got some stuff
Oh, yeah,
to
I
plug.
want to plug my podcast, Model and the Mensch.
And you're the model, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely the model,
All
yeah.
right, cool.
Does a picture come out with this or no?
No.
Okay, then I'm the model. I'm the 6'6", great looking guy.
Jesus,
yeah.
you don't have to lift up your shirt, Freddie,
Oh my
okay?
God.
Like, I get it. You
My
have
chest is-
abs.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
You have abs.
You don't have to do the fasting like we do. We get
Yeah,
it.
okay.
Oh, that's
We're just
why
trying to
I
look
said,
like
yeah.
you, all
You should
right?
have seen the breakfast I haven't yet. Yeah, these 8-pack is intact.
I just smelled all this food, and that's all I did for breakfast.
And yeah, you can find my comedy at freddygcomedy.com. Yeah, listen to shows there all the time, especially if you're in the New York area. Yeah, lots of shows all the time. So yeah.
Twitter, Instagram?
So Twitter, yeah, at Orange Freddy G. I don't have a personal Instagram, but my podcast has one at MATM Pod. Okay. And sometimes I'll post personal stuff on there.
All right. Well, as always, folks, make sure you check out the website, howdidthisgetbooked.com. Also, to make sure you subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube. If we mess something up, man, just go ahead and tweet me at Manscout Manning. If you like what we're doing, say at Manscout Manning. We've had a couple people tweet us, Zane, about our last episode, so I'm very happy that people are getting engaged, finding it now. We've got a good back catalog, like I said, on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube. Google Play as well. So we're out there, we're available, and please leave a review and subscribe as well. All of that helps algorithms so more people can find out about what you guys already know about and the good things we're doing over here. Like I said, make sure you check out the website howdidthisgetbooked.com for more updates for more shows and what we're going to be discussing, as well as merch. That's where my personal merch is, and also t-shirts for the show. As always, I thank you so much for tuning in. This has been another edition of How Did This Get Booked?
Woo!